So I've come across what they call the FATED 4, more like the defaded 4. Welcome back, Classic Crew, to another journal update on my journey to become an Omni hunter through GU by proving myself by slaying Bloodbath Diablos with every single weapon in this game. I've got another weapon progress update for all of you. I've gone around my weapon rotation almost one more time. I am getting close to finishing low rank in this game, and I am slowly getting better with these weapons. Now, I've seen some of you comment on, this is not a good way to learn weapons. Why are you rotating every 3 hunts? You should really rotate less often, or you should focus on one weapon till G rank, and then I hear it. There's a lot of ways to do this. There's no right or wrong way. So far, this is the way I chose, and I have no regrets. It's keeping things fresh, and it's really reminding me of my early days of playing Monster Hunter, my first game, which was World Iceborne, where it took, I just always felt at the mercy of the monster, and I was always feeling something new unlocking and developing as my skill was upgrading. Now, because I'm more familiar with the franchise, that unlocking and growth happens faster, and I'm actually feeling it unlock with my 3 weapon moveset, like with my 3 fight rotations. So it usually takes maybe 2 to 3 streams before I rotate back to a weapon, at which point it's like a test of how much do you remember, because the muscle memory is in there, so it's a lot on memory. But some weapons now, after the circuit is coming back, I'm getting more familiar, so I can feel the growth happening, and it's a good time. So where I was last time, I was wrapping up with Bo playing with Valor. So I have pretty much made Volvidon my hunting dummy. I've hunted him so many times with different weapons in this journal. You're gonna see him come up a lot. But one of the things I realized I really needed to focus on was upgrading my weapons. On average, my weapons were at about 80 to 90 raw damage. I've actually started a spreadsheet which I share with people of all the weapons and what their raw damage are at different streams. So if you want to see that, I'll link it in the not the comments, but the description below. And you can see the progress of the raw damage of my weapons from stream to stream. Now, I usually get to upgrade 2 or 3 weapons per stream, but I realized my hunts going 20 to 25 minutes in low rank was just not a good way to move forward. So instead of focusing on the next fight to unlock the next rank, I've started focusing more on, let's get the materials for the next weapon. So if, say, I'm playing with Bo, I'm going to collect materials to upgrade my greatsword, and so on. So I'm always thinking of the next weapon. And on average, since my last journal, I've upgraded most of my weapons by about 30 to 40 raw damage, which has brought a lot of my hunts to roughly the 10-minute mark. So growth is happening. Now, with the greatsword, I made the cutest dinosaur greatsword called the Lara Saber. It's made from a Laranoth or whatever those things are called. Has 120 raw damage, and just look at this thing. This thing is adorable. It looks like something you would give a kid as his first greatsword. So I was now in a 4-star low rank with this thing, and I decided to go with aerial greatsword. I did it on a Najarala, and it was so much fun. It's like literally climb the snake, charge, bonk the snake. Repeat until snake is dead. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Then I tried the Adept Greatsword with a Narga Kyuga, which also felt really good after a while to just dodge through them, dodge through the tail swipe and then just bonk and just bonk. Now I'm pretty new to Greatsword, so my timing was a little off of holding the charge and bonking, especially with a fast moving monster like Narga Kyuga. That you can see a few times where I'm charging and he'll just back up and I miss. I'm like, ugh, typical greatsword movement. But this one, I started getting good at timing I think it's after Adept, you move and then you can swing your sword back and hit on the way back. So I got a few swings like that. So overall, getting a little bit more comfortable with greatsword. Then we had to move to longsword, which I have to say, I'm not finding my groove with longsword yet. Well, I remember trying Adept and that was horrible. So this time I went aerial because aerial's my go-to for having a good time. And I went on the Shogun Senator with my longsword aerial. And again, it wasn't satisfying because I had to whooshy-whoosh in the air, and whooshy-whooshing in the air is not as fun as whooshy-whooshing on the ground. So I just couldn't quite understand the moveset, and people were like, it's such a basic moveset. It's so fun and rewarding. I'm like, none of this is fun. I'm constantly trying to charge my gauge. Not these animations are slow. Nothing seems like it's flowing well. And overall, it just felt clunky. So I was putting a lot of hate on the longsword. Now, there's a quest that ended my longsword rotation with 2 Kezus, which you know, that's a good time. And I decided to go with Valor. And the first Kezu in that hunt, there was a lot of learning happening and it wasn't the best fight. But the second one, I felt things starting to click and it was starting to look good. Like there's a lot of times you can actually see me sheath as he's about to like do his electric discharge. And I'm just like, nope. And I just get out of there as I sheath. And someone taught me that if you hit R at the right time, you can guard point. And a big theme of this journal is I am learning to guard point on multiple weapons consistently in a way I could never dream of doing it in 4U. So you'll see that there's a part where like the Kezu's turning, I'm just like guard point and then smack, whoop. It was really rewarding. I was like, oh my goodness, now like I love guard pointing with the longsword. So after this, it was the sword and shield, and again, upgraded this. Now I'm at a raw damage of about 100, and it was Valor again. I wanted to use Valor because someone told me try it. You get like this cool backflip. I have to admit, not my favorite style for sword and shield. I think I really like the base or the aerial. There's a lot of combos to Valor in sword and shield, and it wasn't clicking for me. It's just not there yet. So I did Jan Garuga with the sword and shield. It was a pretty big struggle. I didn't realize Jan Garuga roared so much. It was just like roar after roar. And I think this was coming off after the 2 Kezu fight. So I was like roared out. I was like, please stop roaring at me. And then I went into another fight. I think it was an egg quest or something, but there was an Ajarala in there and I had aerial sword and shield. I was like, I just want to have fun slicing up the snake. So once again, up and down with the aerial sword and shield. Oh, and putting the oils. That's another thing. I think it's unique to GU. Putting oils on your sword so you can do like different effects depending on what oil you do is a nice mechanic, and I'm surprised that they did not use that in more Monster Hunter games, especially World, because I don't know, it just feels like it adds more depth to the mechanics of Sword and Shield. So then I went to dual blades, which I'm a little screwed with the dual blades I went because I can't really upgrade them easily with materials required. I forget what it is. And for my dual blades, I mostly focused on playing in guild mode so I could just learn how to play better with them. And the biggest problem I had with was my momentum. So dual blades, you can do like a lot of damage and a lot of hits, but it's very stationary, at least the way I was playing it. And so I had troubles finding in guild style, how do I get like momentum moves? What are the things that let me close the gap with a monster so I can unload all these things? Well, my answer to this was really going to Valor. I have to say, in general, I think I prefer the Valor style for most of my weapons. Like aerial is my fun cheese, but Valor is where I actually feel like, well, I guess it's also fun cheese, but it feels like there's more skill. It doesn't feel like cheese, but I think a lot of people will call it cheese. I'm like, no, it feels like I'm a good hunter. I'm just timing everything. But it's like an auto like survive button. Oh no, it's gonna hit me, Valor, and then you get a cool move. Dual blades, I also learned that there's a guard point, just pushing R. And so there's moves that in Valor that let me run and close the gap with monsters. And then there's the guard point, which you go like, whoosh, like you see this real cool move on a Royal Ludroth where I just go like through a spit and then like come out the other side, just like, whatcha. And then I just like start slicing them like crazy. It was pretty fun. The next weapon was a hammer, and I've crafted my Yankutku hammer, which I love because I used to use this in Monster Hunter Stories too. I remember vividly having like this head of a Yankutku on a stake, I guess. I'm just bonking other monsters with it. It's so primal, but I really enjoy it. So I've got this Yangaruga hammer, and this is when I'm like, okay, it's time to take on the Fated 4 because I feel I'm starting to get comfortable enough with my weapons. And Gammoth is a monster I've wanted to hunt for a while because it's a big elephant and I like big monsters. I just want to have a good time climbing this mammoth and bonking its head with a hammer. And that's what I did. I went in aerial hammer, and all I did was choop choop bonk bonk, choop choop bonk bonk. It's probably not the most effective way to hunt, but it was such a good time. I had a good time. The music was amazing in Gammoth. It was such a fun fight. And then I was like, aerial is cool. What other monster that is like, could I really unleash this aerial bonk move with? I was like, Rathalos is always in the air. He's next on my list. Let's try this. Turns out you can't actually jump onto Rathalos when he's in the air easily with hammer. So my whole like idea fell apart real fast. And also Chad was like, you know, the way you're aerial bonking is not very optimal for DPS. You actually need to use your base hammer moves more often. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And so when I would get Rathalos down, I would do like the triple bonk, the bonk, and then the golf swing bonk. And then I would, if he'd be away, I would like do the charge, run, smack bonk. And all of it was coming together. I'm like, I really feel I'm using the full moveset of the hammer here. And I broke his wing, I broke his head, I broke his back, I broke everything. I'm like, oh, this feels good. Like adrenaline hit everywhere. The only thing that was sad is I couldn't slice off the tail because I only had a hammer that wasn't sharp enough. I felt this great progression with the hammer that it just came together, and to be able to like destroy a Rathalos with my hammer, it was just perfect. So after this, I'm like, okay, let's kill another Fated 4. I had Astalos. I'm like, well, I just had a great time with Rathalos, so let's do this with Astalos. And I did. It was, again, aerial hammer, bunk, bunk, destroy everything. Good time. Astalos has been felled. That is 2 Fated 4 down. From this point, went back to my hunting horn, didn't get to upgrade it, which is fine. It's 110 raw, and I've got like my own armor set for it. I stuck to guild again to just really kind of get used to hunting horn. It's a really weird weapon that I want to spend more time in guild form style just to get to understand it. And a new thing I learned with hunting horn is, especially in GU, every time you hit a monster, you get double notes. So if you don't hit the monster, you get single notes. And I've learned if you can play your song with all double notes, it will play the last 2 songs, keeping more buffs active on you at more time. And so that was a big discovery, because I'm like, oh, okay, so it's strategic that I want to actually hit the monster, but actually, like, you know, not play my song unless I've got my double notes, so that I'm not having to worry about rebuffing as often. So now I just got to get better at my rotation of which songs I want to play and stay active. I'm not at that point yet, but the double notes was a big breakthrough on my hunting horn playthrough. Now we're getting into the weapons where I'm less comfortable with, as well as my more familiar ones, the lances, as well as the switching weapons. So next up, we're now in 5-star, and I have the lance, and this, funny enough, I've upgraded to be my strongest weapon so far with 130 raw damage. I took some time to learn it a little bit more in guild style, so I've been switching between guild and striker. And what I've learned from lance is really, you stand your ground, you go poke, poke, and then you either counter if it's going to attack, if the monster is going to attack you, or you do a charge poke. So poke, poke, charge poke, or poke, poke, counter poke, and then reposition and repeat. I didn't quite get into the rhythm to like really just go poke, 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 poke. So I practiced on a Tetsu. It was a pretty long fight, didn't do so well. Upgraded, did it on a bull drum, and I was shocked at how fast the bull drum died. It died in like 2 or 3 minutes, and I was like, what the heck? And people were like, come on, you gotta like really souped up lance here. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling pretty confident with my lance. Like, I can do some good damage here. Let's go after the 3rd Fated 4, Mizutsune. And I have to admit, this one I was scared of, because the Mizutsune I know is from Rise, and it moves a lot. And I know that the lance's weak point are its sides, and I'm like, I can't like move fast enough as Lance to take on a Mizutsune. And they're like, no, no, no. In its first iteration, it doesn't like move a lot. I'm like, okay, I trust you guys. So I went in with a lot of fear, and this fight taught me about positioning, because the Mizutsune, my lance bounces off of its claws, and I was hitting the claws a lot at first, and I realized, so here are the claws, you gotta hit the face if you wanna have the squishy, which means you have to be perfectly centered between the claws. If you're a little offset, you're hitting the claws. So hitting the face meant really good precision positioning, and also being right in the face of this thing that's about to launch a laser like water cannon at you. So it was intense, and then sometimes when I get openings on the side, I would poke the body, but it was a really good test of where I was as a lance user, and I felt growth. So once again, getting better. I'm nowhere close to taking out Bloodbath Diablos, but I am actually learning these weapons and learning how to use them in basic ways. After this, it was the Gun Lance, and if you've seen my Gun Lance play, it's probably my worst weapon out of all of them. So what could I do to upgrade my Gun Lance for more damage? The Astalos Gun Lance was available to me. It is a wide Gun Lance. I have learned that there is the normal, the wide, and I think the long Gun Lance. I don't quite understand the difference between the 3, but anyways, this was the one with the most raw damage. I had 120. I'm like, whatever, let's go into it. I went up against a 5-star Uragan, which I'm like, this is stupid. I suck with this weapon. This is a hard monster. And I went in after practicing Valor Gun Lance on a Volvidon, and I have to say, it clicked in a way for me that was so satisfying. So I learned with Gun Lance, it's all about getting into Valor mode, so then you can pretty much just go poke blast, and then you do this cool like where it like basically reloads your Gun Lance, because you only got 2 shells, so it's poke blast, bam, whatever, bam, like the slap in the air to recharge, and then to get into Valor, I think, I forget, it's like slap on the ground or something. So it's less, I don't know, it's probably not optimal, but it was really fun gameplay where I was actually able to like counter Uragan when he was spinning, and then poke and blast and poke. It was a decent fight where I felt like you could actually see the improvement in my Gun Lance play, and that was such a rewarding feeling. So after that point, I think I unlocked Lagicruz and Glavenus, the final Fated 4 and also the hardest. And so I decided to take these really tough monsters with my best weapons. And so I decided to build the Switch Axe. And at this point, I realized that there was an opportunity for all of you to get more involved in my playstyle as an Omni Hunter. And so because at the bottom of the stream, you can see all my weapons so that you know how I'm rotating, I was like, oh, we could actually put a grade here so that the chat can decide, the community can decide where I'm scoring as a weapon user. And it's a democratically done vote. So all of the grades you see on screen were voted by the chat. And you can see my scorecard is pretty pathetic. I think I'm averaging like a C+ or something. Someone said my GPA is like a 1 point something, which is garbage. So this is actually a really good start because the goal is to get good. So outside of actually beating Bloodbath Diablos with all the weapons, I should have A's or S's on these weapons by the time my pledge is done. So this is another thing I hope the editor will bring up from time to time, is just so we can see the progression of these grades. And it's not always going to go up. I actually started with an A on my Switch Axe, and the community docked me down to a B after seeing me play in Valor Switch Axe, which, to be fair, was my first time doing it. So they were harsh with good reason. Another thing I forgot, I just realized I missed a note here when I was doing my longsword stuff. There is a style I have not really touched on, and that is the alchemy style. And I finally tried it with longsword, which is you get a barrel and it basically charges over time. And I think you can get 2-3 charges. Anyways, the point is alchemy is basically you get your moveset, but you get a barrel that you shake and then you get some items. And I guess this is OP with certain combos. I don't understand. I'm like, all I get are items, like you get free items, which okay, that's fine. You get charges so that eventually like you can like launch an explosion out of the barrel. This playstyle is not for me. It's like, it looks like a trolley meme or like high level playstyle. I'm not going to touch alchemy for a long time. I've got plenty to eat with all of these other styles. So going into the Switch Axe, needed to upgrade it. I start off with a Reckless Hatchet, which I think had 120 raw damage. Eventually was able to get the Arzuros Switch Axe and upgrade that to 140, making it now my new strongest weapon, and also the Switch Axe where I'm most comfortable. Finally went into Valor, only to discover that the Switch Axe and Valor mode is way closer to World Switch Axe gameplay than anything else in the old world of Switch Axe. Like, the move of the axe actually lets me move and dance. I was like, oh, here you are, my Switch Axe. I love it. And then when you are in Valor mode, you can actually run a little bit with sword, which is like, oh my God, mobility and sword mode. And then you get Trance Slash, which is this crazy combo that you can just unleash. So lots of like switching and swaxing, which is exactly what the Switch Axe was missing in Old Worlds. I love Valor Switch Axe mode, love air. I mean, I'm discovering what the moves that I'm liking here. Then went up against Lagicruz, which was good because there was a lot of cool like dancing around him. But I have to say, I don't know what they did with him since 3U, but holy heck, they gave him like a bunch of AoE attacks because I guess he can't go in the water anymore. And it is so annoying. He's got like balls of lightning swinging around him. He's got this insane AoE that I think requires like 3-4 rolls to get far enough from him, because it goes like it explodes in 3 waves that just pushes you so far away. It's just kind of crazy. It's too much. They went too hard on AoEs. I think someone was just mad that they didn't bring back water in GU or something. And then finally there was Glavenus, which was a really fun time, really challenging. I carded against them because holy heck, he sliced me in 2 and it was just a lot of pressure. So I went in with my best weapon, really strong raw, and I still was on my toes with this boy. So yeah, my skill check is pretty much following the difficulty of the monsters. So with Glavenus down, 6 star is open in village rank. I am now at the end of my low rank. I'm only a few streams away from wrapping up low rank and unlocking high rank, which means everything gets harder. I'm gonna have to now craft a whole new armor set. I need to level up my weapons, and chat is going to get access to all of these abilities to donate channel points or subs or whatever to hinder me or help me. Lastly though, I did end with the charge blade. I upgraded it a little bit. I got a cuddly cat charge blade for like, I think 90 raw, nothing too great. And I practiced guild style again, because I wasn't really liking, actually I do not like aerial with charge blade. And I wanted to get better at the charging mechanic, because now you have to like charge twice. There's no what they call the shortcut like there was in 4U. And I've learned that if I charge from axe mode instead of sword mode, I can go straight to red shield. So I've actually learned how to charge relatively quick compared to how I was charging before. And I also pulled off some guard points on Tigrex. Because in Monster's story, they actually say Tigrex, and I'm like, oh, I have to say Tigrex as much as I hate it. But yeah, now I'm doing guard points with Charge Blade as well, even though I was trying so hard in 4U and couldn't do it. Now I'm doing it naturally. I'm like, oh, there's the opening, and then I think there's like a visual cue or a sound for guard points in this game, and it just makes it that much easier to execute. So I am all about the guard points now. In 4U, they were really hard to do. So that's where I'm at. I'm about to enter another phase of gunner mode, which that's going to be pain. So it's going to be my end of low rank gunner series, and I'm going to have to do these solo. After that, I think it's just a matter of focusing on upgrading my weapons as I wrap up 6-star and just getting everything I can get in order before I go into higher rank. So this month in August, I will be off on a few vacations. I'm also going to be at Gamescom trying out Monster Hunter Wilds for the first time. And so expect slow progress, but higher rank is coming. I probably have one more journal in low rank, and then we're going to be hopping to higher rank. Because I've already seen one set of credits. After beating Glavenus, I saw some credits, and it was cute. The cat lady is basically a pop singer. It's really cute. There's a bunch of cool backgrounds for your guild card, featuring like a bunch of anime and stuff. So yeah, there's a bunch of cool things I'm finding in this game. So I'll see you on the next journal, and until next time, keep it classy.